Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are very happy that you are here with us today. Get comfortable, take a breath, and let English come to you through a real conversation.
Hi, everyone. Today, Ava and I are taking you somewhere useful, delicious, and sometimes a little stressful. We are going to a restaurant.
Maybe you know this feeling. You understand some English at home, then a server stands beside your table. The menu is open, and suddenly you are not sure which sentence to use first.
That moment does not mean your English has disappeared. It only means you need one useful sentence for one real moment. The next sentence can wait until it is needed.
During one dinner, you will hear how to ask for a table, ask for help with a menu, handle a change calmly, correct a small mistake, and ask for the bill politely.
You do not need to memorize the whole restaurant today. Just come with us through the evening. By the end, a few useful sentences will feel much more familiar.
Leo says restaurants can be stressful because he spends too long looking at the menu. He reads every word, changes his mind 3 times, and then asks me what I am having.
That is not stress. That is careful research. A menu is full of important decisions. Soup or salad, rice or potatoes, something familiar or something new.
And after all that careful research, you often order the first thing you noticed.
Sometimes, yes, but today is different. Today we are going to show you how a natural restaurant conversation really moves. This dinner will take us from finding a table to reading the menu, handling a problem calmly, and paying without feeling nervous.
You do not need to repeat every sentence now. Just listen first. Notice what sounds useful. Notice how people stay polite even when a small problem appears. Later, the phrases will come back in a simple way.
And this is important. Good English at a restaurant is not about using difficult words. It is about being clear, relaxed, and kind. A small sentence said calmly can do a lot of work.
So let us begin. It is Saturday evening. The rain has just stopped, the streets are shiny, the air is cool, and Leo and I are hungry after a long day.
Very hungry. I had a sandwich at lunch, but it was a sad sandwich. 2 pieces of bread, 1 piece of cheese, and no joy at all.
Poor Leo. A sandwich with no joy. That sounds serious.
It was serious. So when Ava said, "Let's have dinner before we go home," I said yes before she finished the sentence.
We were near a small place called the Corner Table. It was not fancy. It had warm lights, big windows, and people inside who looked comfortable. That was enough for me.
But there was one small problem. It was Saturday. The restaurant looked busy. We had not made a reservation.
And that is our first useful moment. You walk in, a host smiles at you, you want a table, you do not need a perfect speech. You can simply say, "Could we have a table for two?"
Listen again, but do not worry about copying it yet. Could we have a table for two? It is polite, easy, and natural. You can change the number if you are with friends or family.
Okay. We opened the door, and a woman at the front looked up from a small book. She had a calm smile, even though the room was full.
Good evening. Could we have a table for two?
The woman looked around the dining room. Every table near the window was taken. A family was sharing a large bowl of pasta. 2 friends were laughing near the door. For 1 second, I thought she might say no.
But she said, "I have one small table near the back. Would that be all right?" And honestly, it was perfect.
We followed her past the busy tables. Our table was beside a shelf with little plants and old cookbooks. It was not by the window, but it felt quiet. Sometimes the best answer is not the answer you expected.
That is true in English too. You may plan one sentence, then someone answers differently. That is okay. You do not need to control every word. You only need to respond to the real moment.
Leo was already sitting down before the menus touched the table.
Because I was hungry, I looked at the menu like it was a map to a hidden treasure.
What was on it?
There was roasted chicken with herbs, grilled fish with lemon, mushroom risotto, lentil soup, and a big salad with warm bread. Everything sounded good. That was the problem.
A very pleasant problem. I knew what I wanted almost immediately. I wanted the grilled fish.
Immediately, you did not read the whole menu first.
I read enough. Sometimes I know what I feel like eating. I wanted something fresh, simple, and not too heavy.
That phrase is useful too. I'd like something not too heavy. Maybe you are hungry, but you do not want a huge meal. Maybe you have a long evening ahead. It is a natural way to explain what you want.
But you do not always know what to choose. That is normal. When you want help from the server, one friendly question can open the conversation. You can ask, "What do you recommend?"
4 simple words. What do you recommend? You are not asking the server to choose your whole life. You are only asking for a little local advice.
A few minutes later, our server came to the table. His name was Daniel. He had a notebook in one hand and a small towel over his arm. He asked if we were ready.
I think so. Before we order, what do you recommend tonight?
Daniel smiled. He said the mushroom risotto was very popular, and the fish was especially good because it had arrived that morning. He did not speak quickly. He gave us a moment to think.
I looked at the risotto, then the chicken, then the fish. I was still not sure, so I asked another question. What does the risotto come with?
What does it come with? That question is very useful when you want to know what is included. Does it come with vegetables? Does it come with bread? Does it come with a salad? You are asking for the whole picture.
Daniel said the risotto came with roasted vegetables and a small green salad. That sounded good. Then he said, the chicken comes with potatoes and carrots. That sounded good too.
And Leo's careful research continued.
It did. I asked, is the soup vegetarian? I was not ordering it for myself. I was just curious.
You were making a report for the whole table, and there were only two of us.
Someone has to be prepared. Daniel said the soup was vegetarian, but it was a little spicy. Ava looked at me because she knows I become nervous when food is very spicy.
Leo likes flavor. He does not like surprises.
Exactly. A little spice is fine. A mystery fire in my mouth is not fine.
Daniel laughed too. That was nice because it made the conversation feel human. Perfect English is not required for a warm moment with someone.
You only need to listen, answer, and let yourself be a little real. If you smile, if you ask a small question, if you say thank you, a conversation can become easier very quickly.
Finally, I said I would have the grilled fish with potatoes. Leo looked at the chicken again. He had almost decided.
I'll have the roasted chicken, please. And could I have the carrots instead of the potatoes?
Daniel wrote it down. Then his face changed a little. Not in a bad way, more like he had just remembered something.
Is everything okay?
Daniel said, "I'm sorry, the roasted chicken has sold out." There it was, the small problem, the thing that can make an English learner freeze for a second.
I did freeze for a second. Not because the situation was terrible. It was only chicken. But I had finally made a decision, and then the decision disappeared.
And that happens everywhere. A shop does not have your size, a bus changes its route, a restaurant runs out of something. The goal is not to prevent every surprise. The goal is to have one calm sentence ready.
Here is the sentence I used. That's okay. What would you suggest instead?
Notice the beginning. That's okay. It tells the other person that you understand. Then you ask for help. What would you suggest instead? It sounds calm, flexible, and natural.
I did not have to know every dish on the menu. I did not have to pretend I was not disappointed. I only had to move to the next question. That is what confidence often is, not knowing everything, knowing what to do next.
Daniel looked pleased that Leo asked. He said, "If you like the chicken, I think you would enjoy the mushroom risotto. It is warm, filling, and not spicy."
Warm, filling, and not spicy. He knew exactly what I needed to hear.
I could see your face changing. First, disappointment. Then, curiosity. Then, hunger again.
Hunger is very powerful. So I said, that sounds great. I'll try the risotto. And then I asked, could I still have the carrots on the side?
Daniel said yes. He wrote it down. Then he looked at me and said, "And the fish with potatoes for you?" I said yes. We were ready.
The hard part was over, or so we thought,
Leo always says that right before a new little problem appears.
because little problems enjoy following me around.
While we waited, we talked about the rain. The window beside us was still covered with small drops of water. Outside, people walked quickly with their coats closed tight.
I said, I almost stayed home tonight. It looked like it was going to rain all evening. But then I thought a little rain can make a normal dinner feel special.
I liked that. Sometimes a small change in weather changes the whole feeling of a day. A wet street, a warm room, a good meal. Suddenly, you are glad you left the house.
Ava, do you enjoy eating at restaurants alone?
Sometimes, yes, I like bringing a book or sitting near a window, but I also like eating with someone who notices small things. Someone who says, "This bread is really good," or "Look at that dog outside."
Before the food arrives, let us practice one useful sentence with you. When you enter with a friend, you can say, "Could we have a table for two?"
Say it with us now. Could we have a table for two?
Good. You do not need a long speech. One clear sentence gets the conversation moving.
A basket of bread arrived first. It was warm enough that a little steam came up when I opened the cloth around it. Leo looked very happy.
Warm bread is one of life's best gifts. I took one piece, then another small piece, and I told myself I would save room for dinner.
I have heard that promise before.
It was a sincere promise. It just did not last long.
We kept talking. Leo told me about a message from his cousin. His cousin wanted to start cooking more often, but she was worried that every recipe would be difficult.
I told her to begin with one easy meal. One useful phrase works the same way. Today, try, "What would you suggest instead?"
Say it with us. What would you suggest instead?
Use that sentence when the dish you want is unavailable or when you simply want a helpful recommendation.
A few minutes later, Daniel came back carrying two plates. He placed one in front of Leo. It was the risotto, warm and creamy, with roasted vegetables on top.
It smelled wonderful. There were mushrooms, little pieces of carrot, and herbs. I looked at Ava and said, "I think this was a better choice than the chicken."
It looked perfect for you. Then Daniel put the second plate in front of me. I looked down. It was not the fish.
What was it?
It was a large salad with warm bread and cheese. It looked nice. It just was not what I ordered.
And this is another moment where people can feel uncomfortable. You do not want to sound rude. You do not want to make a scene, but you also do not want to eat the wrong meal.
Exactly. Being polite does not mean staying silent. You can be kind and clear at the same time. When Daniel came back, I smiled and said, "I think there may be a small mistake."
That sentence is very useful because it is soft. I think there may be a small mistake. You are not saying, "This is wrong." You are giving the other person space to check.
Daniel looked at the plate, then at his notebook. He immediately said, "Oh, I'm sorry. You ordered the fish." I said yes. He picked up the salad and told me he would bring the fish as soon as possible.
That was it. No drama, no angry speech. One calm sentence, one quick solution.
And while I waited, I could still enjoy the conversation. I had water, I had bread. Leo was very generous and offered me a spoonful of risotto.
It was the polite thing to do. Also, I wanted Ava to agree that I made a good choice.
I did agree. It was rich, warm, and full of flavor. I said, "Okay, Leo, your careful research has helped us."
Finally, my menu research receives the respect it deserves.
But only after a very long process.
A menu mistake is a useful chance to practice one calm sentence.
Say it with us. I think there may be a small mistake.
That is polite, clear, and enough.
Soon, Daniel returned with my fish. It was exactly what I had ordered, with potatoes, lemon, and a small bowl of green beans. He apologized again. I thanked him. Then we both started eating.
For a few minutes, there was almost no talking. Not because anything was wrong, the food was simply good. Sometimes silence at a table is comfortable. You do not need to fill every second with words.
That is a lovely thing to remember. In English, you do not need to speak every second either. You can pause, you can think, you can smile. A short silence is not failure.
If you meet a moment, take a moment. Then use the next small sentence you know.
After a while, Leo looked at the dessert menu.
I only looked.
You looked for a long time.
Dessert menus deserve respect too. There was apple cake, chocolate mousse, and ice cream with berries. I was thinking about the apple cake.
Were you still hungry?
Not really, but I was curious. There is a difference.
A very small difference.
In the end, I said, maybe next time. I was satisfied, and I wanted to leave room for a cup of tea at home.
That sounded sensible. When we finished, Daniel walked past our table. He was helping another family, so I waited until he looked our way. Then I said, "Could we get the bill when you have a moment?"
This is a kind way to ask. Could we get the bill when you have a moment? The phrase, when you have a moment, shows that you see the person is busy. You are asking, but you are not demanding.
Daniel nodded and said he would bring it right over. A minute later, he placed the bill on the table in a small black folder.
Then came another ordinary question. Were we going to split it?
"We usually do," I said. "Shall we split it? It is short, friendly, and easy."
I said yes. Then I looked at the total and said, I'll get the main part. You can get the tea next time.
That was kind and a little unexpected.
I had received a good message from my cousin that afternoon. She had cooked her first simple dinner and sent me a photo. I was in a generous mood.
Dinner became a small celebration because we had an easy phrase ready when we needed it.
That is enough for today. One phrase, one real situation, one calmer response.
You do not need to know everything before you speak.
We paid the bill, thanked Daniel, and put our coats on. When we opened the door, the rain had stopped completely. The street was quiet and bright under the lamps.
I remember taking a deep breath outside. The air smelled clean. I felt warm from the food and calm from the evening. It was a simple dinner, but it stayed with me.
Ava, what stayed with you most? The fish, the rain, or my excellent risotto decision?
It was a simple dinner, but it stayed with me. But what stayed with me was the small repair. When my order was wrong, I did not need a difficult sentence. I only needed to say, "I think there may be a small mistake."
And for me, it was when the chicken was unavailable. I could have felt stuck. Instead, I said, That's okay. What would you suggest instead? A small change became a better meal.
Those are not restaurant only phrases. You can use them in many places. If a store does not have something, you can ask what they suggest instead. If something is mixed up at work, you can say there may be a small mistake.
That is why real life English is so useful. A good phrase does not stay in one room, it travels with you.
Before we collect the useful sentences, there is one more part of the evening I want to share. It happened after we left the restaurant. We were walking slowly because neither of us wanted to go straight home yet.
The rain had left little pools of water beside the road. Every streetlight made a yellow reflection on the ground. We walked around one of the pools instead of through it, although I was tempted to jump over it like a child.
You were very tempted. You even looked at me first, as if you wanted permission.
I was checking whether you would join me. A good evening can make people a little silly in a nice way.
It can. Then you said something that made me think. You said, "I was worried that I would not know what to say if something went wrong."
I was. Before we went in, I had imagined a difficult conversation. Maybe the place would be full. Maybe I would not understand the menu. Maybe the server would speak very fast. I had created 10 problems in my head before we even opened the door.
Many learners imagine a difficult conversation before it starts. The useful answer is to prepare one easy first sentence.
Ask for a table, water, or a recommendation. Then listen to the answer.
If the answer is not clear, use, "Can you repeat that, please?"
A small mistake is not a failure. It is just part of a real conversation.
Now let us practice the whole situation together.
Remember when I first ordered food in another language? I tried to say that I wanted a small bowl of soup, but I used one wrong word and asked for a small bath of soup.
A bath of soup? That sounds very relaxing.
The person serving me looked confused for 1 second. Then she smiled and asked, A small bowl? I said yes, very happily. And that was the end of the problem.
That is a perfect example. You did not need to disappear. You did not need to feel ashamed. You listened to the correction, said yes, and continued.
Ava, let us switch roles now. I will be the customer and you will be the server.
Welcome. Do you have a reservation tonight?
No, but could we have a table for two, please?
Your turn. Say, "Could we have a table for two, please?"
Now we are seated. I look at the menu and say, What do you recommend?
Our mushroom risotto is very popular. It comes with roasted vegetables.
Good. I ask, What does it come with?
Your turn. Say, "What does it come with?"
Then you tell me the fish is unavailable. I say, That's okay. What would you suggest instead?
I would suggest the grilled chicken or the risotto. And if you need to ask about an ingredient, say, what is in this dish?
Your turn. That's okay. What would you suggest instead?
When dinner is finished, I bring the bill. You can say, could we get the bill when you have a moment?
Before we pay, I might have one practical question. The menu says there is a service charge. I do not understand whether it is already included. So I ask, does the price include service?
Yes, the service charge is already included in the total. You can still leave something extra if you want to, but you do not have to. That is a helpful question when you want to understand the bill clearly.
Listen to it once more. Does the price include service? The sentence is useful because it is direct, but it is not rude.
Your turn. Does the price include service?
There is another small moment that can feel difficult. Maybe you like a dish, but one part of it does not work for you. Perhaps you do not eat cheese, or perhaps a sauce contains something you cannot have.
That is completely normal. A clear, friendly question helps the server help you. You can say, could I have the sauce on the side, please?
I like that sentence because it does not sound like a complaint. It only tells the server how you would like the dish prepared. I might also ask, could I have it without cheese?
Exactly. The server may say yes, offer another option, or explain why the change is not possible. Whatever the answer is, you have started the conversation clearly.
Let us give the listener a turn with the first version. Say, could I have the sauce on the side, please?
Very good. That small phrase can be useful with a sandwich, a salad, pasta, fish, or almost any meal with a sauce.
Now I have finished my dinner, but I have noticed the dessert menu again. This is a dangerous moment for me because everything on the page sounds good.
We have chocolate mousse, apple tart, and vanilla ice cream with berries. Would you like to see the dessert menu for a minute?
Yes, please. The apple tart sounds nice, but I want to know more before I decide. I ask, what is in the apple tart?
It has warm apples, cinnamon, and a thin pastry crust. It comes with a little vanilla cream on the side. You can ask what is in any dish when an unfamiliar word on the menu makes you unsure.
Your turn. What is in the apple tart?
If you do not want that particular dessert, just change the last words. You could ask, what is in the soup? What is in the salad? Or what is in this dish?
The apple tart sounds wonderful, but I am already full. Then I remember that sharing is an easy answer. I say, could we share one dessert?
Of course, I can bring two small plates and two spoons. Sharing can make a big dessert feel simple, and it gives you one more natural sentence to use.
All right, now I am ready to pay. I take out my card, but I want to check first. I ask, can we pay by card?
Yes, of course, you can tap your card here when you are ready. If a restaurant only accepts cash, the server will tell you, and then you can decide what to do next.
Say it with us. Can we pay by card?
Now imagine you are with a friend. You enjoyed the meal together, but you want to pay separately. One short question is enough. Could we split the bill?
That phrase is easy to remember. Could we split the bill? Or if you want to offer, you can say, I'll get this one and you can get the next one.
Some restaurants can split the bill and some cannot. If the answer is no, do not worry. You can pay together and arrange the money with your friend afterward.
Your final turn. Say, could we split the bill?
Excellent. Notice how this role play moved forward one small question at a time. You did not need a speech. You only needed the next useful sentence.
Excellent. That was a real restaurant conversation. Short questions, clear answers, and no perfect speech required.
Before we go, let us bring back the useful moments from our dinner. Do not treat this like a test. Just listen and see which sentence feels ready for you.
First, when you arrive and want a table, you can ask for one politely. Could we have a table for two? Short, clear, and friendly.
If the menu feels difficult, ask, what do you recommend? The question invites a suggestion. You are not pretending that you already know everything.
Need the full picture of a dish? Say, what does it come with? The answer may help you choose or avoid a surprise.
When something you wanted is not available, take a breath. Then say, that's okay. What would you suggest instead? Calm words create calm moments.
When you receive the wrong thing, you can say, I think there may be a small mistake. It is polite, but it is still clear.
And when you are ready to leave, you can ask, could we get the bill when you have a moment? It respects the person who is helping you.
Finally, if you are eating with a friend, you can ask, shall we split it? A small question, a very useful question.
Before you go, tell us in the comments which sentence would help you most at a restaurant. What do you recommend? What does it come with? Or could we get the bill?
Choose one sentence and say it once more today. That is enough practice for now.
Thank you for spending this dinner with us. We hope you felt relaxed, supported, and a little more ready for your next real English conversation.
And tomorrow, we are taking you somewhere new. There will be a different situation, a few new useful phrases, and another easy way to learn by listening.
Until then, be kind to yourself. Your English does not need to be perfect to be useful. It only needs to help you connect.
See you tomorrow, everyone. Take care.